Welcome to Custom Homebuilders Solutions, also known as CHS, a job costing, full accounting, and profit management software designed specifically for the professional home builder. Hi there, my name is Carol King and I am the developer of Custom Homebuilders Solutions, also known as CHS. And I have spent the last 16 years of my life working very closely with dozens of custom home builders to come up with a full accounting and job costing program designed specifically for them. As professional custom home builders begin to find out over time, generic accounting programs like QuickBooks do not give them the information they really need without spending hours and hours creating and maintaining massive Excel spreadsheets in order to do things like just simply monitor the daily changes in their estimated job costs and profits, or prepare those draw requests for maybe cost plus markup jobs or cost plus builder fee jobs or fixed contract jobs, etc., based on the contract type. Or maybe get the sale due to professional job budgets or estimates that they show to their home buyers. Or get alerts about overages before overpaying. Or ending up needing to prepare waivers of lien based on checks paid. Or track allowance overages. Or figure out how much they are owed at closing. Or produce those insurance audit reports required by general liability insurance auditors. And there is so much more that is needed out of the accounting that home builders themselves need to answer to all of those outside parties like lenders, insurance auditors, home buyers, or just to communicate with their subcontractors. My degree and years of experience are in accounting, and in the 90s I was hired by a new custom home builder because his investor would not invest unless there was someone on staff who understood the value of having efficient, useful, and accurate accounting information. In fact, that investor said that the person managing or controlling the accounting needed to be the smartest person in the company. This investor knew that a custom home builder's accountability can make or break the business. He knew that systems must be in place for managing and being able to manage profits on a daily basis, for building a solid reputation with those home buyers, lenders, auditors, suppliers, trades, and all kinds of other outside parties that can have an impact on the business. And for efficiently sharing info between the builder, the field, the back office, so that processes were not bogged down in misunderstanding, causing lots of lost time and lots of failed communication. In just a second, I'm going to open the CHS program and try to give you a view of the flow and why you might be wanting to use CHS. But first, I've opened our website at chssoftware.com because I'd like to point a couple of things out to you about how you can review our software. First of all, you will see testimonials from our various builders that you might like to look at. There's a place where you can click to see what builders say and see their various quotes. But what I'd like to get to is that if you click product, or if you click on the home and you click this learn more, you're going to be taken to the same page. And what we have here, if you scroll down, is first of all this video that I'm doing right now, and a list of our various features. And behind each one of these sections about our features, you will see that there are detailed tutorials about that section that will tell you everything you like to know. I am all about teaching. I am all about showing every aspect of the program for anybody who needs certain sections. All of these tutorials are available on screen when you're actually inside CHS based on the screen you're on and the things that are related. But if you would scroll through this and look through the tutorials, you can do a very detailed, in-depth review of CHS to see just exactly what it is that you'll be getting and all of the various powerful features that we have by combining a full accounting program with a job costing program and considering all of the tools that custom home builders need out of their accounting data and related data so that the job budgets and estimates can relate to the accounting and give you all sorts of daily information. So I wanted to point that out. I also want to point out that if you click the sign up button, you'll be taken to our screen for signing up. And there's a button there to get even more tutorials, review our tutorials, see printed help documents about the program, see sample reports of everything I'm about to talk about. Now, I am going to go ahead and go into CHS, and it will take me a little bit of time because I want to show you the whole flow, how you can even consider going paperless with purchase orders that you don't have to use, but I'll show you the value of those. I'll show you how the field is communicating with the back office, how the back office is communicating with the field, how project managers can approve work done. Then they can also get online, pull up the bills that have been posted, approve them for payment, drill down to overages while they're there, look at copies of the bills that the bookkeeper might have put there and get rid of all those stacks of bills that are routing around. And I'll also show you how every day you can watch how your estimated costs at completion are changing based on your original job budget estimate, any change orders you have done, any purchase orders you've issued, any actual costs you've posted, and even a place for the builder to write in a revised cost for certain cost centers. I'm going to go through that. That'll take a little time, but I think that if you are considering purchasing or using a software to run your custom home builder solutions, you really ought to take just a little time to review it so that you can fully understand what it's doing for you. Again, I am all about teaching, so that's why it will take just a few moments, but I think it will bring you valuable information and let you know just how valuable CHS can be to you. So here we are inside CHS, and while there's a lot that's in CHS and it would take way too long to show everything in CHS, what I'd like to do is show you how powerful it is to have a program that has the budgets, has change orders, has purchase orders, and a place to post your bills and print checks, and to bring those all together on a screen where you can watch how your costs are changing daily. I'd also like to emphasize that if you watch this, you will begin to realize that you could kind of go paperless as far as all of those vendor bills if you want to through using purchase orders, and I'll point that out as I go. What I've done is click on the button for jobs and project management, and the first thing I've done is click on cost code setup, which I opened here. What cost codes are cost centers that are used throughout the program for things like framing, plumbing, roofing, and all these other types of things you're seeing going on down here. And you give them a code and you give them a title. You can click this button to load the recommended National Association of Home Builders cost codes if you like, and then just tweak them, get rid of ones, change the titles, tweak them, change the numbers as you want, or you can set up your own from scratch. You will be setting up like a group heading, and then underneath it you'll be putting various cost codes that are used as cost centers. They shouldn't become too detailed. I have some videos up here about that, and you can find them if you're looking through our various videos, because behind them you can attach things like items, which, let me take a look here. Building permits. This is a kind of odd thing to have items for. You might have items for appliances or for lists of masonry materials, things like that, but you can also use items behind a cost code, and these are the items behind this cost code that this builder did for the various types of building permits rather than having a cost code for each one. What this does is give it some unit prices for what they usually are. This is like a master setup of generic items. And it will help when you're doing a budget to remind you what to budget for by looking at the items behind the cost code. I'm going to focus throughout this video on the slab contract, which is down here under 2105. And by the way, I could have done a keyword search, so I really just focus on it, which means it's only going to find the things that have the word slab in it. But anyway, slab contract. I'm going to tell you about how this master setup of cost codes, this is not a budget, but you can set up a master, and you could tell various cost centers to have their quantity when you open a new budget be based on the job's measure or spec. In this case, they're going to base it on the slab square foot, and they've put in a default unit price that should come in, multiply times the job's square foot, and when you open the budget, it'll pull all this information in and put a quantity based on the slab square feet, and you'll see that in a second. That's what these default measures are for. You're editing and adding cost codes on a window like this, and this is where you would be putting in this default. And on every screen there is help and videos and things to read about how to use those, etc. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail because this is just supposed to be an introduction video, but you can maybe get that idea. There's also something called a quantity percent, and if I just look at, let's try to look at plumb for plumbing. In this case, this builder has rough, top out, and final. He says to base plumbing on living square feet times this unit price, and these might be old unit prices in my demo stuff. And then he's splitting that into thirds, so when a budget opens, it's going to have, because these are in different stages of the job, and notice how stages can be attached. You can set up your own stages. So these might all be lumped under a group called plumbing, but they might be in different stages, which can be very handy if you're using purchase orders and you want to look at all the purchase orders through a certain stage. CHS can do that because the purchase order has a cost code on it and it knows what stage those cost codes are in. So hopefully that gives you just a brief view of that. What I'm going to do is go home, and if I click the active jobs dashboard and go here to that, and then I select one of my active jobs, and I did Smith John. This is a new one I set up for this demo. I can look at the job setup. When you first set up a job, let's say, okay, now I've got the job, yay, or I'm just bidding on the job, so I've set up the job and I want to do a budget. But we've marked this one as sold. We gave it what's called a job code. But what I want to point out, you can pause this and look at the other fields and find the tutorials that are completely about setting up jobs. But you can see there's some spec measurements, and there's that slab square feet, 4,292. You can add more specs than these top 6. This is just the top 6 priority specs that this builder selected to have show up on budgets at the top of the budget report. But let's just pay attention to the fact that we entered 4,292 as the slab square feet. Then we said, let's start doing a budget. So I clicked this button and a window popped up asking me, first of all, if I just wanted to use that cost codes master, which is what I did on the budget that will open here in a second. Or if you want to copy a budget from another job, it will adjust for the different specs for the new job that you're doing, that kind of thing. So you get some options before you open a job budget estimate worksheet. I've already gone ahead and told CHS to start a new budget for this new job. And what happened is it brought in all of the cost codes, and in a minute we're going to get rid of all the ones that we don't use, but a lot of times builders like to bring them all in so that they can remind themselves of things they need to budget for. In this case, we're not going to have a lot, so we're going to get rid of all that here in just a second. You could get rid of them one at a time at the next button, but I'm going to show you a fast way. So here's building permits, and we see that it's 0, but all the rest of these costs were brought in from the master, and we'll jump to slab contract in just a second. But I'm going to click on building permits, and you'll see over here that it changes, and I'm going to go ahead and look and see if there's some items to remind me about to use. And it did bring in some items for me that I had set up as generic items to help me budget. So I think I know I'm going to need a city building permit. We'll just say it's going to be 500. We could change the amounts here by editing these, but we're not going to take that much time in this. And let's just say we're not going to have any HOA fees on this job, so we won't check mark it. So we checked mark 2 for the budget. And when we close, CHS is going to ask us, it's detected that we've checked marked some of those items to be on the budget. So it's asking if I notice how the budget for building permits is 0 right now, but if I say yes, update the budget to the total of the items, then I will get that total in here for my budget, and I'll decide that's great, and I'll submit it, and it will update my budget worksheet. Now let's just go on down to that slab for a minute. Notice that what happened with the slab is, remember, we had a unit price of $8 on our master, and we told it to be based on slab square feet. And so it dropped in the jobs quantity, multiplied that times the quantity percent times unit price. By the way, quantity percent can be used to include some sales tax, so you might put in 108.25 as the quantity percent for this multiplication feature. Or you could use it for contingency kinds of things, like say you want a 10% contingency for various things that might happen, because this is your budget and you might want to give yourself a little room. So you might have a quantity percent, say you want a 5% contingency, you put 105. You'd have to figure it out to also have sales tax, or 10%, so you might put 110 here for your contingency, but we're not going to do that right now. So we're looking at this. We've decided that we have all the numbers in. You would, of course, go through and do more numbers and do more stuff. Maybe write buyer notes. I'll take up time. You can also write internal notes that are not for the buyer right here. These can be real fancy when you do buyer notes. Click on that and add some buyer notes about what this particular cost center is about. But first of all, let's decide that we've got everything in that we want in. We're just pretending here. And we want to get rid of all the lines that we don't have any budget amount on. So we can click this button, and then there's a remove zero budget lines. It's going to bring them all in and show you which ones will be removed. So I can click this to automatically remove those, and then close that, and refresh the budget. You'll notice that the lot costs are going to go away here in a second. And all zero lines went away, so every one of the lines now has an amount. Then the other thing, so let's say, okay, we budgeted everything we want here, but we want to go ahead and put a markup percent on everything, because we can use the markup percent to help us figure out what price we might want. Or if it's a cost plus markup percent, this will help guide CHS all the way through to attaching markup percents to bills you posted and producing cost plus markup draw requests based on the markup percent attached. But you don't have to sit here and type a markup percent in every single line. You can use a tool here. You can mark up the budget. By the way, if you've entered a price in the place I'm going to show you in a minute, it'll show you a markup percent that you can use and apply based to make your marked up amount exactly equal your price. I'm going to use a 25% markup, and we're going to talk about a markup percent in a minute. So I'm going to close and refresh the budget one more time. And now everything is marked up. So the next thing you might be wanting to do is come up with a price after you've done all your budgeting. One thing I'd like to mention is, one great thing about being combined with accounting is you can click a history button and look at averages for that particular cost code that you're clicked on from other jobs. Choose certain jobs with similar square feet to help you look at history, to help you budget for something. Also, if you see a little pin note on the cost code setup, that means somebody wrote a little note about that. We're going to come back and attach a vendor bid here in just a second. Let's go to the price. And let's play like this is, let's make this a fixed contract. And let's say we want our desired profit margin to be 20%. Now, if you'd like to pause the video here after I click this question mark, you can read about what the difference between a profit percent or profit margin is between that and a markup percent. Markup percent will always be higher, and you can read about what that is. But I put in 20%, so based on my budget, CHS suggested that I do a price of $405,693 to get 20%, or if I'm doing a cost plus markup, that I would use a 25% markup, which I did already apply, or this would be a builder fee I might attach. This is just suggested. But I'm going to go ahead and enter a price, let's say $406. Just because we'll decide that's going to be the price that we're going to do on the contract. So you can see down here that it's showing the price minus the budget, and so that's 20.06 estimated profit margin. I'll come back to a little bit of this and how it's going to start tracking based on what our changing daily costs are and re-estimating the profit. So I've set the price, and I'll close this. Then the one other thing is that you would probably want to do either a proposal. Maybe you're proposing for this, etc. You do all budget reports up here. You can set up different styles. This builder has one that says construction budget at the top and review not for construction. Maybe we'll use that one because we're playing like we're just coming up with the thing now. Now usually if it's a fixed contract, you'll see that there's budgeted costs only, budgeted and marked up, but you probably use for a cost plus draw to give it. Budgeted costs only might be for a cost plus, this is cost plus markup. This might be for cost plus builder fee. Then there's marked up only. You can do a basic budget with buyer notes, and we don't have any notes entered, but you'll see here there's a spot here where all these buyer notes will start happening, and this builder, it comes down here, shows the price, etc. The various extreme buyer notes that you can put in, or list of items, you can do a budget list of items, etc., and how much information there starts being based on all of that is one of the reasons builders call me and tell me they got the job, because of how detailed they start making these. I'm not going to go into all these budgets. You can find our tutorials, look at examples of these. Some are, remember when I had 0 lines, I might have wanted to print one with all the 0 lines to have a hard printout, but most of the time you're using the one up here for no 0 lines. You can also do one with stages. It's just stage totals only. Remember how I showed you there were different stages you could set up? This would be a good one to sort of anticipate what your various draws might be. The amounts of your draws are forecast based on when stages are ending. So now I've gotten almost more wordy than I wanted. Now let's go back to our slab contract and let's play like we've got a bid in. And first of all, actually, I want to go back to the jobs dashboard, and we're going to start looking at something called the estimated cost at completion, which is actually a screen you end up going to every day to see how the job is doing, where you're at on the job, what's going over budget, that kind of thing. So I want to get this window open. Right now, all you'll see is that we have the budget, total budget, and our estimated cost at completion, which is this column, is the same as the budget, and I'm going to show you how we cause that to change some here. So let's get this one sort of down to slab contract. We see that it's just the amount of the budget right now. So let's go back to the budget, and on the slab contract I already uploaded a vendor bid. You could get 2 or 3 vendor bids in, and then you could get them posted, and you can attach a copy of the bid if you like. We only have one in, and actually if I drill down to this attachment, it's showing me I have uploaded, which you can do, a copy of the bid. Pay no attention to the address or the date or anything on this bid. We're going to just play like this is the bid we got for $34,400, and I just used some other bid but I already did it, and I already posted this bid, $34,400, from this particular vendor. So what I could do from this is I could issue a purchase order and have this bid attached to it. But let's look at our budget. We're leaving our budget alone, $34,336. So our bid is a little bit higher than that, but we've decided not to change our original budget. Maybe it's several days later. But we're going to go ahead and issue a purchase order for this. I have to check mark it as selected. Now I'll do a PO. And what it's doing is going out and creating a PO for that vendor from that amount that we had entered for the vendor bid. And notice that it has an attached file, the PO does, and I could view that. That would be that bid again, but it's attaching it. And you could change and have notes that drop in. You could set up default notes for this cost code that drop in. But I'm just going to say, as per your attached bid. Then I could go ahead and save that. And you'll notice that it's using the same cost code slab contract. It's showing me which stage that PO would be in. Then I could print the purchase order. First of all, you can set up many different styles of purchase orders. You might do some styles that say work order at the top, but I'll just go ahead and print this purchase order real quickly. They open as what's called HTML web reports first in case you're wanting to send them to Word or Excel, etc., but also allows you to export them to PDF. If you're going to be saving this or emailing this on its own, although there's a button for emailing it, you would open it in your own Adobe Acrobat Reader. And I'm going to start showing you the power of POs. First of all, this would be your original agreement for $34,400. This builder set up quite a bit of text for his purchase order, so it goes to a second page. But also he uploaded his signature. And notice, if you want to go paperless, this builder has, by signing below and returning this signed contract to our home office, you're requesting payment, this and that. So you ask them to email back the signed PO when they want payment. And this particular builder says, I don't care too much about your bills, I'm going to pay on POs. So that's a purchase order that's been issued for that. So what I'd like to show you, by the way, you could do email PO and attachments, and it would email that PO PDF, it would make a PDF of the PO, and it would attach that attachment for the bid that you have. So let's close that PO, and let's close that PO. And let's go back to our estimated cost at completion worksheet, and let's refresh it. What I'd like you to see is how early on in the job, just from one change, you can start telling if you are heading over the whole budget for the job based on something that's happened. So let's get to that slab contract again. Now we see the original budget, which we could click on and drill down and see, or the total POs, $34,400. And notice that since this is higher than the original budget, CHS has adjusted the ECC to $34,400, and it has 64 as an overage over here. So now let's go see, let's play like we're at the end of a stage, and I'll go back to the jobs dashboard. And we're at the end of some stage, and the project manager is going to let the office know that the work has been done on various POs through a certain stage. Let's do approve work done on open POs, and it's going to ask you through a certain stage. I'm assuming we're done with stage 2. Now we've only issued one PO, but you would have a list of POs here. But to make it cleaner for this demo, so you'd start having a list of them here, grouped by cost codes. So then there'll be another header and another header. But we only have one PO. Let's play like the work has been done, that we're looking at a list of them, and we know that the slab contract work has been done. So the project manager can check mark that as done. And it's telling me right here that I'm over budget on that, just so the project manager would know that, just for information. You can review the estimated overage by clicking the variance report and the POs, etc. You can get a lot of information and drill down on variance reports and see bills that have been posted or POs, etc. to see. You can also see over here unpaid posted costs that we haven't actually posted any costs yet, but we're going to go ahead and say, yep, we did the PO for that bid. I'm going to say that the work is done, and I might type some notes here. Maybe, have we received insurance certificate? The builder project manager is named George something. So sometimes I like to do that. I just made up a thing. You could also adjust that amount down. You don't want to pay them the whole $34,400 right now. You might just want to pay half of it. So you can put an amount to adjust down, and then it will only show the bookkeeper that half of it's been approved, and we'll leave the other half here for next time you open it. Now you can see there's a little pin note here that somebody wrote some note about this. I'm just making up stuff to show you how you can communicate. So the project manager has gone through and marked work done. So let's go be a bookkeeper for just a minute. Let's go home. Let's go to the payables where we print checks and post bills. Let's click to post payables. For one thing, if you are going paperless, You could post bills from open or approved POs. I'm actually not going to do that. I just want you to know about it. That this bookkeeper could come in and open a list of all open POs and then do a search for maybe just for one job. And let's just search for our one job. And that was Smith John. And let's say we just want to find the ones that are marked with work done, and I would submit a search. Now, of course, again, you might have a whole lot of POs, you probably will, but that way this bookkeeper can see this. She can see that it is marked work done. She can see there's a little pin note and read it. That's about the insurance, and maybe type something there. You know, now I'm being Carol. Not yet. Let's just save that. So there's a little more communication that you're doing. It's refreshing a list, and it is looking for an awful lot of things to bring in. I'm going to resubmit my search real quickly, and the bookkeeper could click a button and do create bill, and just pretty much everything would be filled in. However, I'm going to just go ahead. You don't have to use that feature, but you can see how that communication could help you with being paperless. Perhaps somebody uploaded and attached to that PO the copy of the signed PO when it came back requesting payment. Now that vendor was called Big Buck. So to post a bill, it's first asking me for a vendor. And I want to click on this pencil edit icon to show you something about Big Buck. This is Big Buck's setup window for when you set up this vendor. You can look at all of our tutorials for setting it up. Notice how I told it to have a default GL account number for our work in progress account for this vendor. So for accounting, I didn't have to remember what to put in there when I post this bill in a second. But notice that general liability insurance is expired on June 30, and we are now into July 2016. We put that it's required. We can look to see, we can upload vendor documents, and in this case we have uploaded a general liability insurance certificate. And if we wanted to look at it, we could. It's actually a real old one. I'm not a real builder, so just play like this document said that it was expired on June 30 and not on March 14th. But that's just an example of doing that. So anyway, I want to point that out as this window opens to post a bill. And we're going to post a job-related bill. It is telling me that there's open POs for this vendor, just for information purposes. And what it's doing right now is going out and looking to see if things have expired, if there's insurance discount deductions you can take, if there's waivers of lien that you're tracking, because you can produce waivers of lien. It's studying on all of that to bring in some information. So just think about how much time, if you pause for a moment while it's doing all that, think about how much time it would take you to run all around, check insurance, check whether there's waivers out, check whether, all kinds of things about vendors. So CHS is alerting us that the general liability is required and it is expired, and asking us if we'd like to deduct some insurance. And I am going to go ahead and deduct some insurance because they haven't given us their certificate. So we'll just go ahead and deduct it, and notice that a couple new fields opened up over here. These are fields, these are preset already. If you select a different GL, CHS will ask you what to remember this. This is for your accounting. We won't go into that much, but it dropped in, and we also had supplied a rate when we set up that vendor based on what the liability rate they might charge if this vendor is not insured. So what I'm going to do, you could fill in all these fields for your bill, and please watch videos about doing bills, but because we are using POs, my life is so much easier. I'm going to select this PO for this job and go ahead and let CHS fill in everything. It's filled in the cost code, the job code, the cost type that goes with the cost code. That's like labors, material, turnkey, etc. I could change the invoice date, the due date. I could change the invoice number if I need to. I could change the description, and I could change the amount. But everything is here, and it's figured out how much I'm going to deduct for liability insurance down here, so the net that I'm going to pay. I'm just, by the way, the bookkeeper can drill down to the estimated cost of completion, see all bills posted, drill down to purchase orders issued and whether costs have been attached. to this PO yet, some things like that, but if costs had already been attached, CHS would have just supplied the difference here. So I'm going to submit this, and the first thing I'm going to get is about how this amount is over the budget amount. I could tell this to pause, then I could drill down on this over budget words, figure out why, but I already know why because I did a PO for a little higher than the budget. So I'm going to just submit this, and I'm going to choose to post it as unpaid to pay later in a check run, because these are all going to go through an approval process. Now the next thing that pops up will let me attach some notes or upload right here a copy of the bill that could be seen by the project manager as they approve this bill to pay, or a copy of the signed PO, but I'm not going to do that. You can see that we're deducting the insurance here. Now I'm going to just write a little note here on the approval notes. And I'll put Carol, their GL Liab insurance is expired, and since they have not given us their certif, I am deducting an amount for that. So there's a note right there that's been written to the person that's going to be approving the bills. So I saved that note. You can now see there's a little pin note here, but that's the way the bookkeeper writes. The very next thing, if you go back to the jobs dashboard for this job, the project manager can come in and say they click this button for approve posted unpaid job cost. And by posted, it means it's been a bill that has been entered. And you will have a whole list of them probably, but we have only one. You can see there's a little pin note here. You can see what Carol said about that, and that she said she did deduct insurance from that. Since that doesn't have a job code on it, it kind of goes to the generic stuff. The project manager doesn't see that, but they can trust that Carol said yes, they did. Also, the project manager can drill down to the estimated cost of completion, can drill down to all the notes that have been written everywhere about this job and this cost code, from budgeted slab contract, Carol give their general liability insurance, etc., and see notes, all kinds of things, and can go ahead and decide this is okay to pay. The OK to column is for the big boss to come up. Then when all these various bills are selected OK to pay, when the bookkeeper comes back in to select posted bills to pay, they can also see all the notes. Like if the project manager decided to write a note like deduct, hold $3,000 from this and deduct it, or things like that. The big boss can see all the bills, including overhead bills. Project managers can only see bills marked with the job that they're working on, etc. I'd like to issue a variance PO, and I'm just going to add a new purchase order right here. And I'm going to select the job, which was Smith, and I'm going to select Big Buck, because Big Buck has now told us they're going to charge $2,000 more for soil conditions. So I'm going to put $2,000 in here. I'm creating a PO. I'll create the purchase order. The PO title I should have changed there. It drops in based on the cost code title, but let me change that PO title. And I'm going to call this a variance PO. And why? You can set up some different site conditions. Let's just say that. We're calling this soil conditions, but you could have set up a variance thing. Now, the value of having a variance PO is that you can do reports that list just the variance PO, or if you're looking at history on past jobs, you can see how much was just a variance due to something unusual for that job and see the difference between them. But this gives you a way to store, say what variances are. You can print reports of POs, etc. I'm not going to print that or anything to save time here, but I've issued a PO now. What I'd like you to see is back on the estimated cost of completion. If I refresh it, and I'm just messing with one line so that we can keep this simple. Now look that we're showing over budget by $2,064. And if I start scrolling to figure out where that is, I can see that right here. And as the big boss, I can see that amount going over. I can also see that there was a variance PO, that total POs are now this. And it's now taking $36,400 to be the amount of the PO. I can drill down. I can look at notes, because if I'm wondering what that is about, I can see the notes about it, and you can see there's a variance for soil conditions under the area for POs. You could write notes about all that if you like. But you can see how early on in the job, not till the end of the job, actual to budget, because if you did actual to budget, say on this line you get $2,500, then you'd be under budget by $2,500 because you have no actual costs. Notice that you can drill down to see what actual costs have been posted and whether they're paid or unpaid, that kind of thing. There's a bunch of drill down. Or if for some reason the big boss knows we're not going to pay this much totally, or we're going to have more, they could do a pencil edit icon and actually change the amount, make the ECC equal whatever is written in here. If actual costs are higher than that, it won't take this amount, because actual costs are real costs that you're about to post. It's also going to show whether things of this ECC, if we've paid any, which we haven't. We've only entered one bill that's unpaid, and it'll start showing you amounts paid and how much is outstanding, how much is outstanding here. Now, one more thing I'd like to do before I leave is issue a change order for a patio, and we'll do it for a patio and how much the slab might be for the patio. So you can also see the effect on the ECC and what we do with change orders. So if I go back to the job dashboard and I do add new change order, and I select our job, our Smith job, and you can read the tips about how I'm going to assign this change order number. And then I'm going to do just call it that, the change order, that as a title for the change order. Now what happens is, I'm also going to make my line title the same. Let's say it delays us through, cost code, sorry. Use the same, this slab contract cost code, and you can do several lines with different cost codes. Let's say you're also going to make a cover on it and you do a frame or a roof or things, but I'm just going to do one line to speed this up a little bit. We're saying it's going to delay it 3 days, and it's in stage 2, and let's just say that's going to cost, I don't know, $1,500 or something. We're just making up stuff right now. And I'm going to mark this up 25% also, so that I can get a buyer price of $1,875. But this is our estimated cost for this change order, so that you can add, things to it, etc. So I'm going to approve this change order. Say we've discussed it. We'll use today's date for that, and we'll submit the change order. The other thing I'd like to do is issue a purchase order for this change order. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to edit it. And then I'll see the whole line spread out. Also, if I wanted to write a bunch of notes to the buyer, etc., I could for this change order. But that first screen was just about getting the basics in, and now you can edit each line. And I'm going to create a PO from this change order line. And I'll do our same vendor, Big Buck, and I'm just going to call this the PO title slab for patio, and then I'll create the purchase order. And you'll notice after this purchase order opens that it's going to have been labeled as a change order purchase order. You also can see that ECC information right here. So it can be helpful when you're entering purchase orders to see if the purchase order is causing you to go over and your estimated cost of completion. But we're going to go back to our worksheet and take a look at that. So I've also issued a PO for this, and I've created a change order. So let's go back to our estimated cost at completion. Let's refresh it. And I'd like to show you that our overage hasn't changed, because this $1,500 is actually like a little mini budget. So we add the estimated cost for the change order and the budget together to come up with the total budget. And now we can see, if we drill down on our POs, which is a handy screen, by the way, where you can see the posted costs attached, how much over under PO we have, how much is still outstanding to pay. But you can see we have a budgeted, a variance, and a change order PO now under this particular cost code. But the change order is not causing us to go over budget, because the change order estimated cost is part of that. So we're still only over budget by $2,064. If I close the ECC, where I'm done talking about it, and you do click on change orders approved, one nice thing is that you can see if you've received payments for the change order, what your balance due is on change orders, and you might have a whole list of change orders here after a while. So that's kind of neat how CHS is tracking that. Now, just one last thing that I'd like you to see before we leave this video. I'll go home, and this button is always here for owner review of open jobs, all open jobs only, so that you can come in quickly and see where these various jobs are at. The first section over here is the profit status of open jobs, and here's our job that we've been talking about. And you can see that the current estimated profit is going under our original estimated profit, and you can drill down to see how that is calculated. This window that will open is the same one that we opened from the job budget worksheet, where we're coming up with our desired profit and entering a price. And here was our original price minus the job budget, so our original estimated profit. Then the second column here, CHS has taken the original price plus the price that we put on the change order, not the amount we estimated the change order to cost, but the price when we marked it up 25% when we did the change order. So here's a revised price minus your current estimated cost at completion, which is higher than your original budget. So we're coming up with a revised profit and a revised profit margin and our profit difference. Now, this isn't the same as the amount that the estimated cost of completion was over, because we do have some profit we're making, a little $300 profit something or another that we're making on the change order, because we estimated the cost to be $1,500 and the change order price to be $1,875. So that's the current profit difference that we're calculating right now. And down here you can see each job, each open job, and one line for their current estimated cost of completion. Here's ours. Here's that amount that's over. You can drill down on this to open that worksheet again to review what the overage is. And up here, by the way, CHS can track job, cash by job, no matter what checking account, to see how much cash has been contributed. All we've received so far and from this job is a $25,000 down payment. We posted a payable, but we haven't paid it yet, so we still have the $25,000. But we can drill down and we would see that payable we posted or any others for open payables that we haven't paid yet, so we can see how much job cash is available right now. And we might decide to do a draw request. CHS can do powerful draw requests based on whether it's a fixed contract, a cost plus markup, cost plus builder fee. The cost plus ones, it'll pull in costs, which is one of the powers of being connected to your accounting, so you don't have to go do all those spreadsheets to try to figure out your current draw request, and it'll mark the costs that you've drawn as being drawn, and then when you do your next draw request, it'll pull in any costs that you've posted, etc. So you can see this type of thing, how much cash short. You can see the total cash the company has right here, etc., and the total accounts payable and credit card payable balances and so on. So I wanted you to see how there's this quick dashboard. I wanted to do this last because so that you would understand what that estimated cost at completion is and how CHS is just tracking that. You can also do an outstanding report of all of this stuff that you see here. It's a report that is grouped by type of job, and our job is a fixed contract. Here it is. You can see that stuff about how it's coming up with the revised profit variance, but over here You can also see revenues received of $25,000, revenues remaining to receive based on the revised price, and costs remaining to pay, which is all of our ECC costs because we haven't paid any yet, and where we're at cash-wise, just like you saw on that screen, but you can see it for all the jobs there. Anyway, I hope that gives you a quick idea of why CHS is different from most job cost reports, especially because of how it's calculating that estimated cost of completion for each job every day. There are so many more features like tracking allowance, overages, and unders for items you marked as allowances on your budget and adding that to your contract balance, etc. All kinds of things where you can watch all of our tutorials and get a good idea about that. And all the other things that are listed here and on the Home tab. And I'll come back and do a second video that has to do with accounting and financials and the general ledger to show you and give the bookkeeper a good idea that this is a full accounting program, and you can let go of the QuickBooks and let go of doing all those Excel spreadsheets. And again, thank you for watching.